Hello everyone, this is George from Digital Art Scoop, and today we'll be working on the last part of our batching tutorial. I've got my last file open. Before proceeding with the actual Photoshop actions, I couldn't help notice that the colors are a bit off on my model, so I just want to make a really quick fix on it. So if I select my model and in my property tabs I bring up my material, I can edit my texture. So in fact I don't want to edit it, I just want to preview it, and actually I will arrange my workspace to be two up vertical so I can see them really up close. What are the differences between the way my texture was designed by me or some other designer and the way it is previewed in my viewport. So clearly the saturation and the brightness uh, isn't there. So to fix this I'm thinking of two methods, and the first one implies brightening up my environment, brightening up my model. So in my environment I will change the appearance of my image based lighting texture. So I will edit this texture. Let's go to layers, and I will make this gray right here a bit brighter. So I'll just use a color overlay of white. I leave the intensity alone, and I don't know, I want to brighten it. I think 10% should do. So let me just save this, and let's see what we got. So clearly there's a big difference right now. I can't preview how it was before, but it's obvious that it's much brighter right now. And maybe I could use some contrast. I only have here the amount of contrast I'm needing. Otherwise, the entire image is lacking contrast. So I'll just simply use a layer adjustment layer. So let's say curves, and I'll bring back some of that contrast in. Don't want too much of it. Okay, so I believe this is looking much better. The shadows are a bit harsh, so by holding Alt key and moving your cursor between an adjustment layer and the layer below forces that adjustment layer to apply itself only to the layer immediately below. So in my case is the layer of the 3D model, and the shadow remains unaffected by these curves. It's as if I've applied the mask here. So I think this looks much better. And the final adjustment that I will make is on the texture of my model. So on my diffuse texture, sorry, it was I already had it opened, I forgot. So in my layers, I'll just group everything up um, and call it work, call it default, and I'll make a new layer. Call this one custom design, and in this new layer, which is blank at the moment, I will be placing my custom designs, so the ones that will be mapped onto my cover. Okay, so I will just save this. Now I can close it, I don't need it anymore. And now we'll actually begin our batching efforts. So to batch a Photoshop action, we can use Photoshop itself. However, it's much more useful if we use a Bridge. So I'll open up Bridge, and I already navigated to a folder where I've saved various pages designs. So imagine that instead of these 5 designs right here, we have 500 or 100, or how many our magazine has, and our client asks us to render them all. So it would be really tedious to go through all of them and just go to our texture, edit texture, and just paste our design, uh, then save this out, and so on and so forth. So instead we'll be making a Photoshop action to do this for us. So what I will try to do is pick up all of these designs and go to Tools, Photoshop, and Batch. Now before I do this, let me open up my action palette. So I purposely don't have it open. To get it, you go to Windows, Actions, right? So this is my action tab. I will dock it in here. It's recommended. These are some default actions. Depending on your workflow, you might have more actions here or less. We're not interested in this. Also, you might be in button mode, which is something I do not recommend. So uncheck this. So when we go in Bridge, the workflow is like this. You select some images, some JPEGs or PNGs or whatever, and we go to Tools, Photoshop, Batch. This brings up the Photoshop application. If it's not open, it will start booting, and we can select a set. The sets are in fact these groups, and an action from within that set. And when clicking OK, this will apply all of the action steps to all of the images. We also have some special features like overriding the save as command, but we'll design our actions so as not to make use of these, since they can complicate things a little bit. So now also have to imagine that when we run a Photoshop action, in effect Bridge opens that file in Photoshop. So right now, if I'm opening this file, this is like the first step of the action is opening that file. So if I want to design an action that will be applied to all of the files, I first have to open one of these files that I'm working with. So I've done this. I've opened my file. Now there are several ways I can automatically map this texture onto my 3D model using actions, and I'll use one that is the most easy to work with, and that is forcing myself to have this file open. So my Photoshop action won't function if I don't have this file open. So this is an important file that I don't want to override. I don't want to, let me save the changes. I don't want to, yes, to override it or modify it in any irreversible way. So I have to keep this in mind. To start an action, we first must make a group and an action. So I'll make a set and just call this batch set, and within this set I will create a new action and just call this map to pages, because this action maps these two pages on my 3D magazine. You can, if you have many actions, you can make up your own naming conventions. So immediately as I made my action, this red button right here pops up. This is an icon that tells me that I'm currently recording. So anything that I do right now gets recorded. Switching tabs won't get recorded, but making a selection as so will be recorded. So this is a good selection that I made. I selected all my canvas, and I want to copy this. So you notice that any action that I make gets recorded in here, so I can easily preview it. Good. Now I will switch to my previous document. So you see select previous document. This is why if you don't have this file PSD file open, our action won't function. And this is an important feature of our action. So our action comes packed with this PSD file, our final model.psd. So I've selected my previous file, and now I am going in 3D material and edit our diffuse texture. This opens up our diffuse texture, and we make sure to go to our layers tab because we want to know exactly where we'll be pasting our design. And here we have to keep in mind that we will be keep adding uh, designs and designs over and over uh, on top of our previous designs. What we'll do is past, make a control V action, and free transform this so that it matches our rulers. And it's a good thing we have them set up because right now I'm sure that the design is mapped properly. So I'll just confirm this, and we have past transform current layer, and all I have to do now is save, and we have update smart object. We're closing our file, and now this is our 3D magazine. So remember in our previous part that I was saying that I want to make an anti-aliasing type of action, and I will do so automatically when I get the information from this design to my other tab. So what I'll do now is make a selection here and copy all the information I have in here, and I will do with Control Shift and C. So this makes a copy merge command. You have it in edit copy merged, so Shift Control C, and okay, I can deselect this. Moving to our next document, I will deselect the selection here and past my design. So you notice that this is already a lot larger. So when I free transform it like so, as long as I have this one set up on bicubic, any one of these will work pretty well. This will smooth out my edges and get the look that I wanted. So I'll just click OK. So I've passed it. I transform my design. I want to extend this white stripes to the end, so I'm making uh, first a selection, then a free transform command. So now the reason I've imported my pixels here and not kept it from our previous document where they were already placed, well, is besides the fact that I wanted to scale down, is the fact that now when I make a save as selection, so Control Alt and S key, I can uh, get this name just right. So if I were to have saved it from my PSD file, it every time I would have ran this action against a different file, it would have had the same name. So it would have overridden my files. So I'm happy with this file name. This isn't in conflict with any other, and it is dependent on the original file name. So for C02 I will have C02 copy. So this is great for me, and I just select save. I enter my options right here, and I have this save command. If I expand it, I can get some of the information on it. And what I want to do now is close this my active. I don't want to save it again, so no. And also, because like I said, I will be opening and opening and opening many covers, and each and every one of them will be passed in the same spot in my diffuse texture. I want to clear that diffuse texture right now, so I go again to edit texture, and in my custom design I'll just Control A, select everything and delete, and then deselect. So now I'm leaving my original file, I'm saving this at its default state, right? So I've closed everything, and right now I'm exactly at the default state, just as I was before doing any kind of operation. So now I can press escape key or this button. This will stop my action. And what I can do now is go back to my bridge. I notice I have my cover already saved here. Now if I go and select the rest of my magazine designs, I go to Tools, Photoshop and Batch. This opens up Photoshop and this Batch menu. It already finds the latest action that I've made, so I'm in Batch Set, Map to Pages. Okay, so I just click OK, and this will apply all the steps automatically. It will run through all of these steps, pasting the texture on the diffuse slot, um, copying those pixels, transforming them on our file, saving that file, then cleaning up the diffuse texture again. And if I go in my bridge here, I should notice how all of these files get generated, right? So if you have like 20 of these, you know when you wait. Good. So now that I have my files, I can easily rename them also in Bridge without much of a hassle. So just select them all and Tools, Batch, Rename. So this brings up this menu, and we can choose string substitution from the original file name, and we tell Bridge to find space, so there's a space here, and copy, right, and replace it with something else. In our case, we can go rendered. So this will rename everything from like C01 copy to C01 rendered, and it tells me how many files will be processed. I can actually preview it for all the files, not just one, and click rename. So this instantly renames all my files. Now I could also batch a Photoshop action that will rescale these files. I can batch a Photoshop action that does changes their size ratio, anything I can do. So if for instance I want to generate some square thumbnails out of this, using the same procedures, I will just make a Photoshop action where I do an image size type of modification. This was a special type of action because it was always dependent on this file. So again, most often a Photoshop action isn't dependent on having a specific PSD file opened or not. This one does, because it makes use of our 3D model, and it's really hard to make it any other way. So that was it for our third part. I hope you enjoyed this extensive tutorial on batching an action in Photoshop and Bridge with the use of 3D files, and really looking forward to seeing what you guys make up using these skills. Okay, until next time.